What if I told you there's an entire dimension of 1950s television you've never seen, let alone heard of? Forget what you think you know about classic TV. In this video, we're pulling back the curtain on 10 incredibly obscure shows that prove the 1950s were far more experimental, daring, and imaginative than most people remember. These weren't the safe, polished sitcoms of primetime America. They were strange, ambitious, and often ahead of their time. They came and went like static on the screen. But their echoes? They shaped everything that came after. This is Remembering America. 1. Decoy, 1957 to 1958. Before women-led crime dramas, before detectives like Cagney and Lacey or Veronica Mars, there was Casey Jones, the tough, no-nonsense undercover cop from Decoy. Played by Beverly Garland, she wasn't chasing glamour. She was chasing justice through New York's shadowy back alleys. Filmed on location, long before it was common practice, Decoy gave viewers the grit of real streets, the echo of footsteps, the city lights flickering against the night. But despite being the first American TV series with a female police lead, it disappeared after just one season. Why? Because sponsors didn't believe audiences would follow a woman through danger. Yet decades later, her trailblazing spirit would inspire countless heroines who walked that same dark road. Decoy wasn't just a show, it was a quiet rebellion. 2. The Adventures of Ellery Queen, 1950 to 1959. Every week, mystery fans huddled around their televisions, pencils ready. As Detective Ellery Queen pieced together his clues, the camera would pause, and the narrator would ask you to solve the crime before he did. It was television's first interactive mystery, a format decades ahead of its time. Each episode invited the audience to play detective, transforming living rooms into crime labs. But much of it is gone now, lost to time and poor preservation. Only fragments survive, whispering of a show that dared to make viewers part of the story. In many ways, Ellery Queen invented what modern streaming now calls interactive storytelling. The difference? They did it live, with nothing but imagination and timing. 3. Captain Video and His Video Rangers, 1949 to 1955. Long before Star Trek or Doctor Who, a man in a homemade silver uniform soared across cardboard planets on live TV. His name was Captain Video, television's first space hero. With a budget that barely bought coffee, the producers used tinfoil, fishing line, and smoke machines to build entire galaxies. Kids didn't care about the props, they saw possibility. For a nation emerging from war, the future felt bright, and Captain Video gave them a universe to dream in. Though primitive by today's standards, its influence is everywhere. In science fiction's optimism, in the belief that technology could save humanity. It wasn't about the effects. It was about the wonder. 4. The Ernie Kovacs Show, 1951 to 1956. If television was an art form, Ernie Kovacs was its first true artist. His show wasn't just comedy, it was surrealism in motion. Fish danced in bathtubs. Cameras tilted, scenes reversed. Characters broke the fourth wall long before it was cool. Kovacs saw TV not as a box to fill but as a canvas to paint. Every camera trick, every absurd skit challenged the medium's boundaries. Sadly, Kovacs died young, and many of his films were destroyed in a storage fire. But those who remember, from David Letterman to Monty Python's creators, still call him the man who made television think differently. He didn't just perform on TV, he reinvented it. 5. Playhouse 90, 1956 to 1960. In an age of light comedies and jingles, Playhouse 90 felt like an awakening. Each week, millions tuned in for a 90-minute live drama. Raw, emotional, and unfiltered. Writers like Rod Serling and Reginald Rose tackled themes others wouldn't dare touch. Racism, addiction, mental illness, the scars of war. Episodes like Requiem for a Heavyweight weren't entertainment. They were theater for the living room, broadcast once and then gone forever. No reruns. No safety net. Just pure human truth, captured live. Playhouse 90 proved that television could confront reality, not just escape it. 6. Your Show of Shows, 1950 to 1954. Before sketch comedy had a name, before SNL, before late-night monologues, there was Sid Caesar. His program, Your Show of Shows, delivered 90 minutes of live comedy every week, powered by a writer's room that became legendary. Mel Brooks, Carl Reiner, Neil Simon. They built comedy brick by brick, often rewriting sketches minutes before going live. Mistakes happened. Cameras shook. But the laughter? It was real. This was the blueprint of modern variety television. Raw, creative chaos that taught America how to laugh again after the war. And though few recordings survive, the DNA of Your Show of Shows still runs through every sketch show today. 7. My Little Margie, 1952 to 1955. In an era obsessed with perfect families, My Little Margie dared to be different. It told the story of Margie Albright, a single young woman living with her widowed father. Their relationship was equal parts wholesome and hilarious, full of misunderstandings, slapstick, and warmth. Margie wasn't a rebel. She was just figuring life out. And in the process, she gave post-war audiences a glimpse of independence and individuality rarely seen on TV. The show didn't lecture or moralize. It laughed at life, and that's why so many quietly loved it. It's proof that even in the 1950s, television had room for heart and humor beyond the traditional home. 8. The Stu Erwin Show, 1950 to 1955. Sometimes called Trouble with Father, this series blended domestic comedy with gentle absurdity. It starred real-life couple Stu and June Erwin, portraying a bumbling schoolteacher and his patient wife navigating small-town life. While it seemed simple, the show carried subtle social commentary about education, conformity, and the fast-changing American dream. Its pacing was slower, its tone warmer, a perfect time capsule of middle-class optimism before the cultural storms of the 1960s. Most people have forgotten it existed. But for those who grew up with it, the Stu Erwin Show was comfort, a laugh shared between homework and hope. 9. Science Fiction Theater, 1955 to 1957. Think of it as the grandfather of the Twilight Zone, only without the eerie voiceover. Each episode opened with a host in a lab coat explaining the real science behind the story you were about to see. Then came tales of invisible men, alien contact, and nuclear experiments gone wrong. It balanced fact and imagination beautifully, reflecting America's post-war fascination with technology and fear of the unknown. Science fiction theater made its audience believe that the impossible was just one experiment away. And though Rod Serling would later refine its formula, this show lit the fuse. 10. Suspense, 1949 to 1954. Before Alfred Hitchcock Presents, before The Twilight Zone, there was simply suspense. Adapted from the famous radio series, each episode delivered a new tale of terror, crime, or psychological tension. It starred everyone from Boris Karloff to Jack Palance, performing live, sometimes without rehearsal, always without a second take. There were no jump scares, no special effects, just pure storytelling and atmosphere. One camera, one light, one heartbeat. It taught television that fear wasn't in what you showed, but in what you left unseen. Today, it's nearly forgotten. But every chilling twist you've ever watched owes it a silent debt. The quirks and charms of 50s programming. Grainy black and white clips flicker, rockets from Captain Video, laughter from Margie, shadows from Suspense. Television was still learning how to walk. And somehow, in that awkwardness, it managed to fly. Many of these series aired for just a season. Some vanished forever, but their fingerprints remain. The dramas echo Playhouse 90, the sketch comedies trace back to Your Show of Shows. Television wasn't born perfect. It was born brave. When we talk about the golden age of television, we're not just remembering I Love Lucy, we're remembering the dreamers who made stories out of static, and the audiences who believed in magic. So tell us, which of these lost shows do you remember? And which one should we bring back next? Until then, keep the memories alive. And never forget. This is Remembering America. United States.